less money or more.
Dr. Stevens, are we go? All right.
All right. Call this meeting to order. Welcome to the April 27th, 2026 meeting of the school board. Mr. Barwin, if you could please complete roll.
Mr. Jim Bard.
Here.
Mr. Mike Carey.
Here.
Mr. Charlie Suiters.
Here.
Dr. Nathan Goetz.
Here.
Dr. Michael Lyman.
Here.
Mr. Kirk Noggle.
Here.
Mr. Fred Scott.
Here.
Mrs. Becky Wolfinger.
Here.
And Mr. Drew Alosi.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we begin our deliberations this evening, let us once again be reminded of our duty to represent all of the children of the school community, regardless of age, sex, race, or creed, and regardless of need or ability. This meeting is being live streamed and uploaded to the district YouTube channel. May we now have a moment of silence to reflect on our thoughts, plans, and actions on behalf of the students in Shippensburg Area School District. Thank you. Moving on to item 1F is the approval of the agenda. I would ask for a motion for approval.
Fred Scott, make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Thank you, Ms. Wolfinger. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next section is for public comment. Is there anybody here who would like to make public comment? Mr. Stevens, is there anybody online? Makes it easy. Moving on to reports. I'll start with report 3A through 3B. Mr. Bill August, Superintendent.
Thank you. Just give me a moment to pull up the donation report. So first off, we'd like to acknowledge those individuals and organizations that have provided financial support. For this week, we received a $200 donation from Goldsmiths Reynolds in support of the Best Day Ever event, which will be held at the high school in the next couple weeks. So thank you to Goldsmiths Rentals. Next up is construction options presentation and discussion. As the board is well aware, we're looking to address the next phase of construction in the district, looking at how best to solve, our growing enrollment, cohorts that enter in kindergarten, enter fairly reasonably, something that we're accustomed to, but as they grow through the system, we have projections that require us to take under consideration what facilities changes we may need. So these are the options that have been presented and refined from EI Associates based on board feedback. There's four current options there. So we're going to I'm going to walk you through those options: projected cost, projected staffing, and pros and cons of each option. So if you can go to the next slide. So what we're calling option 3, we describe that as 6th grade moving to SACE, and Nancy Grayson having additional classrooms added. So the combined cost, when EI was here, they talked about just the straight up construction cost. They did not add in the soft costs, which are generally calculated as 25% of the total cost of construction. So in this option, we have 2 builds in 2 different locations. The Nancy Grayson build is a little over $5.1 million estimate, and the enlargement of SACE comes in at just over $17 million. And I would just put a caveat in this for board members and any community members listening. These are initial projections. We won't have final costs until we get through design and we go throughout the bid process. But these are the best working numbers at this point. We have about $5.5 million in soft costs for a total of $27.89 to $500 million for that cost. The staffing a little bit tricky to determine, because we'll be adding staff over time. So I went out 10 years what I think the staffing would cost to get, to meet our enrollment demands or projections, and that comes in roughly at $2.3 million. So the total cost at 10 years is a little bit over $30 million. I'll briefly run through the pros and cons, which you can see there. Remember, we're thinking about how do we solve the problem. One of the major problems is the middle school for space as that bubble gets through. This one absolutely solves that problem. It creates some additional space at the middle school for potential high school use. It preserves the middle school should we continue to grow to have a future build there. It's potentially among the lowest staffing costs. I put a big asterisk next to that because that's the most volatile number. And it's a change for sixth grade, which could be good or bad. On the other side, things that these are the cons that we thought of administratively. Construction at Nancy Grayson is likely challenging. That's already a site that's tight. So we would be adding on additional buildings there. 2 construction sites allows for less efficiencies. This model does not allow us to bring back pre-K, and it's a change for sixth grade. And the other con is that it's at or above the budget ceiling. So Mr. Barwin will further expand this later in the meeting. But when asked what was a comfortable number, and I use that word sparingly, what's a doable number? This was above that number. So option 3.5.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sorry.
Just as earlier when I was looking at this and I was trying to interpret these numbers. So when we look at the construction number, right? So like the blue total there, that's a total. That's not like debt payments for 10 years.
That's
That would
the
be-
cost to build it.
That's what we would go out to borrow.
Right.
Okay, so that's the total. So then that brings up the 10-year staffing costs. Is that like the cost of salaries over 10 years, or is it like the 1-year cost
Right.
of additional people at year 10?
That's a great question, and like I said, this is the most difficult number to capture. So I went through and looked at the cohorts that went through that would be going through each building, okay, and tried to determine how many core teachers we were going to need to get the numbers around 24 in a classroom. They come in at different times, obviously. So that's really, we're not going to realize that in one jolt, is one way to say it. However, part of it, the concern is I was fairly confident of the number of core teachers we would be needing over that time. I'm less confident of how many specials teachers, and how many special ed teachers. There may be some efficiencies we would have with current staff to go between buildings. Some of that is you don't really know until you sit down with the actual numbers and figure that out. So I just put kind of general placeholders of like 3 additional specials teachers in the mix and like 1 or 2 additional special ed teachers. This doesn't capture things like counselors, additional administration. It doesn't cover any of that stuff. So that number take with a huge grain of salt, because it was my best guess at what staffing, to give a sense of what it could be, to ballpark it.
So, but again, is that grain of salt? And I get that that's hard to estimate. Totally get that. But is this $2 million like the cost of additional staff at year 10? Or is this the cost from years 1 through 10?
So it's a cumulative by year 10.
Cumulative.
I'm thinking, my guess is that we're going to be adding at least 2.28 million.
All right, so this might be a little bit of an on-the-spot question, so you might not have the answer. But then, if at year 10, like, given the additional staffing that we need, I'm just wondering what the additional, like, I don't know, say that's 10 more people or whatever that are needed by year 10. What is the, like, increase to the faculty's salary budget line item at that point? Does that make sense?
I'm a little bit lost.
Okay, so if the goal is, like, in year 10 we're going to have 10 more people, say, right? So is that's about $1 million right there then, I guess? I mean, you see what I'm saying? Like, what's the once the bubble is accounted for, right, and we have, like, the number of people that we need, what is the per year cost of that?
I would say that number divided by 10. I mean, again, without.
Oh, okay, all right.
I mean, so again.
But that's not very many people then.
Well, depending on the, you'll see it go, it varies between. I mean, what number did we use there? Per teacher.
130 or 120. Sorry.
So we use 120. I mean, that's how many teachers.
Teacher, okay.
Yeah. So that's the just generic cost I was using to kind of get to a number. So, but that's definitely by year 10, we would be adding theoretically $2.3 million to.
So about like 8 teachers, then more, or 9. Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. So
right.
again,
I
and
think
they'll
I'm
hit
on-
at different
I think-
points.
I think
Like-
I'm there. Thanks. Sorry.
Can I maybe piggyback on a question here? So if we're looking at what it costs to construct these 3 different options, that's one cost. When it comes to staffing, that cost can modify differently depending on need as the years progress forward. It could increase beyond this number, or it could be lower than that number. We have to go on what the forecast is giving us, but bottom line of what cost of instruction is, which then tells us what our borrow amount is, because we don't borrow that amount.
Right. That's just going to be in the budget.
Right.
So I was trying to get you'll notice that, and I feel good about it, is that the staffing for each of the options is kind of around the same number, because, again, I focused on core teachers because that's the one I knew the most about. The others are, again, a little more spurious.
And then for the sake of everyone, the soft costs, that's 25% of what the construction cost is. But that 25% soft cost, can you describe to the public, to the rest of the board, like exactly what that dollar amount buys us?
So soft costs, Kirk, you want to talk
Soft
about
cost would be design, engineering, contingencies.
furniture?
That does include furniture?
Yep.
Okay, I apologize. Told Michael wrong. So, those types of things.
Things that aren't bricks and mortar.
Yeah,
I
bonds.
mean, anything that would go into a classroom that we currently don't have. You're talking about like smart boards. You're talking about the wiring there to get those things in place.
Would have bonding too. Oh,
Yeah, bond costs.
With the other projects that we've done, did we spend all of the money from our soft costs, or did we have reimbursement?
high school, middle school, we were, I think, over budget.
We had reimbursement.
Usually you have some soft cost left over, yeah.
And I did use again. I think it's important not to get locked too specifically into these exact amounts. I did use the highest. I think we were recommended between 20 and 25%.
Correct.
So I wanted to show the worst case scenario, so that there weren't any additional surprises.
I'm going to piggyback on what Drew said too, that like that staffing number, while it varies a little bit between options, it's not the major source of cost differential. It's pretty close to the same across all the options. So
Yeah,
in
and
terms
we're
of just-
likely going to have to do that anyway.
right.
So,
So in terms of decision making, that's not a thing that's really going to sway your decision one way or the other.
yeah, I just wanted to see initially what,
I mean, it's good to be there, right?
Right.
But if that's going to be your decision point, that's probably not the best one.
any other questions on option 3?
I'm sorry, and I don't want to derail this too much, but just as we're like thinking about in terms of annual costs, right? So maybe Caleb can confirm my math, but just we're talking 20-year bonds, right?
New construction, you can usually do out to 25. So anywhere
okay.
between 20 and 25.
Well, the 20-year bond, $10 million at a 5% interest rate would be about $800,000 a year.
Right.
So if we're talking almost $30,000, then that's, it would be maybe $2.2 million a year would be our sort of budget cost of that expense over if it was a 20-year bond, but 25-year bond, I guess would decrease that somewhat. So.
Have it here.
Anyway, I'm saying that more for the benefit of everybody else, just so that you can sort of think about what that cost would be on an annual basis. We're talking maybe a little over $2 million for that.
Right. Yep. If we did 30 million, 20 years, payment would go up to a little over 4.8, and it's sitting. Next year, it's going to be at 2.8, so you're right around that.
All right, option 3, 3.5. Okay, so this is kind of doing the other end, which is moving third grade to SACE with solving the middle school issues and Nancy Grayson issues with staffing. So the advantage of moving third grade out, this one is tricky because, it means that let me run through the numbers. So one construction cost, soft cost at that, bring this in at, $19.2 million, slightly higher staffing costs over 10 years. Again, the pros and the cons of this, lowest possible cost, does create space at Nancy Grayson and James Byrd. Any of the options that moves third grade to SACE does create a no cost, what I would call a no cost build at those buildings, because we would be reclaiming space. Just a reminder, if you go back to number the 3.0 option, the cost to build those 6 classrooms at Nancy Grayson came in at like $5 million. So times 2 is $10 million. So, any plan that moves third grade out of the to SACE comes with about $10 million in reclaimed space within those buildings that if we had to build them, that's what it would cost us. Future middle school construction is still possible. It's not, of all of our sites, the construction at SACE is at least knock on wood, the least challenging. It's one construction site. This option does allow us to bring back pre-K. It improves the parking at Nancy Grayson and James Byrd, and all PSSA testing would be in one building, which would be convenient. The cons are that changes to possible middle school schedule. We may have to move away from teaming into a more junior high model. The middle school could still be crowded, although as we explore that, we had initial conversations with Mr. Barnes there to see how it worked, and we already kind of get hammered a little bit about traffic and safety at SACE. So this would be increasing the number of cars and traffic that are going down to SACE.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we're here.
So on this one, should we get to that position where the middle school is way too tight, the alternate thought is for 6th grade to then be added to SACE?
I mean,
right, to like rectify that.
Depending, I think there's options. This, Mr. Scott is kind of like a piece by piece approach. This is a attempt to solve those problems, but I think the district and the board could plan out what steps that would be, either adding on to the middle school if we need to, or going back to another option there. So
So third grade moving up and sixth grade coming backwards, though, long term kind of fixes the elementary school. Intermediate is already like that's fixing itself. It fixes middle school and also potentially the high school.
I mean, we'll
Okay.
get to that option.
Just- yeah, I'm just
So this is kind of like
trying to
a
understand, like-
step forward towards towards other solutions. So that
I'm just trying to
yep.
understand, like, if you like it says in here, if there was future construction possible, needs,
Yeah.
like what it would look like.
Yep. Other questions on 3.5?
I have a question. Last time we had a meeting, you had 3.5. You say about putting teachers would be on the middle, be on carts.
Not necessarily. I mean, it's likely that there would have to be some, until we lived it, Fred. I think for the cores, we would be looking to add 2 more teachers per grade level. So my initial thoughts are, 6th grade we would add 2, to get us to that 24, 25 number, and then those teachers would be mobile. So they would be in, when 7th grade's at specials, they would be in 2 7th grade classrooms. When 8th grade's at specials, they would be in 2 8th grade classrooms. So that group would travel, but that's like kind of a junior high model. So there may be more freedom with kids moving, in and out of different rooms. But for those 2 teachers in 6th grade, absolutely. And then in order to make 7th and 8th grade work due to certifications, we really need to hire a total of 4 who could basically teach 2. If I hire a social studies teacher, they would teach 2 7th grade classes in social studies and then 2 8th grade classes. So they'd be joining those teams, and I'd do the same with the other cores. So that's why I need 4 between those 2 grades.
I got no problem about the numbers, but I'm just saying.
6th grade does not require, that still can be elementary. So those teachers can, by certification, they have much more freedom for what they can teach. When you go 7 and up, you're kind of locked into a specific, core.
No, I'm just trying to figure out, those teachers, how many are you going to need? How many will be on a cart, not in a class?
So at least, 6, I would say 6 core.
6 core.
Yeah, and if we're adding specials, like maybe some of those specials might be on a cart.
So about 8, 9. You think?
That's the part that's tricky. I don't know how many specials.
I'm not holding you.
I would say I put in 3, but again, some of it is sharing classrooms. That's the other part. Like if we have 2, you're asking me to project out a lot.
I'm just.
So you're definitely going to have between 6 and I would say 10 teachers that would be mobile.
So they wouldn't have no, teacher-student relationship until they bring the cart in.
No, they're going to have their. They're going to have their kids.
So the kids go with the cart?
So if there's an empty classroom, if I'm a 7th grade teacher and there's a 6th grade open classroom, my class would meet in that classroom. I would just meet them there.
Okay.
That would be their classroom. The kids aren't going to move. They're going to be assigned to classroom 6. The teacher's just going to have to get there.
All right.
Other questions on 3.5? Let's roll to 4. So 4 is kind of, that's why I called it 3.5. It's really kind of a tweener. It's not quite 4. The addition here is that we would build at the middle school. As you can see, that number comes in right around $30 million for construction. You'll hear a repeat of some of the pros and cons here. This definitely solves the middle school issue. Definitely get that bonus space at both primary schools. We get pre-K back, all the testings in one spot, and we improve traffic. The cons here: 2 construction sites, limits future expansion at the middle school. We still have those traffic and safety access at SACE, and this is at or above the budget ceiling that Caleb Mr. Barman put forth. Questions on this one? Okay.
Oh wait, I'll ask one.
Just couldn't resist, could
I couldn't. You almost got me not say something. With option 4, is there the possibility of doing the intermediate school stuff and then sort of pushing the middle school down the road a little?
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's 3.5. I mean, so like we could design, we could do 3.5 and have the design for option 4 or option 5.
We'd have that in our back.
Right. I mean, that's like why we're out. I mean, I think it makes sense to, and EI recommended that we, get all those approvals and go through that process so that, if things, change or, we're in a bind, we can move quickly to get the construction phase done.
Okay, so we could do like all the prep work, save some of the construction.
I would say
costs.
the approval and design work we could get done,
Yeah.
which, as we well know, is a big part of it.
Right. Okay.
So on to option 5, which is really like 5.1, 5.2. So this is the most complex one because there were like 2 designs. One is, the CY. It talks about courtyard, and EI presented those. The pod is the one where they just kind of come off the different wings. So really, I mean, this is moving 3rd grade and 6th grade to SACE, which, is something we could also plan for. If we move 3rd grade up and do the 6th grade work, or vice versa. I mean, any way you want to slice it. So the costs for this obviously are the highest from the pod range. If the board does land on this one, administratively, I would recommend that we do the pod option. I think that's the most financially viable and I think makes the most sense. That's coming in, with highs and lows between 38 and 39.6 for those pod options. If the courtyard is the way you'd like to go, that's more along $40 and $42 million. Again, some of the same pros that I've already read, and then the cons. Does create a very large elementary building, and this is a possible overbuild in that we would have a lot of space at 2-3 buildings there. So, we do get space. Another bonus construction at the middle school because we'd be freeing up 12 classrooms here, or at least 12 classrooms here. So,
That was one of my other questions with this overbuild issue. Oh, I don't even know if I want to say this. It seems like you have a little more flexibility with. You can't unbuild a building,
right.
but you do have a little more flexibility with staffing, and so it's with 3.5. It seems like we are fixing some problems with staffing, and if there is some kind of change, it's an easier thing to change than to unbuild a wing or whatever.
Yeah, I would agree. And if we do the planning for it and get the approvals, we can go either direction. Install. If we find it's untenable or we're really not loving that fix, then we could move. The board can move on pretty quickly.
I'm having a really hard time picturing 9-year-olds and 13-year-olds in the same building with this option.
Other questions on option 5?
Could I raise a question about, a couple items that are on these descriptions? On option 3, it outlines that The difference is that there's no space added for pre-K. So I think a decision point for the board is going to be, are we going to look at a solution that allows pre-K to come back into the building? There's evidence that shows that that kind of exposure for families, for students is beneficial. I think that would help narrow down a direction of where this is going. Second is the space at James Byrd and Nancy Grayson by moving third grade up. Is that something else that the board is looking at? I know I've brought up a number of times about the sending districts being able to move the line so it creates equality of population between those two schools. Is that something the board can say to administration, hey, we want to move in a direction, let's equalize the space, and move in a direction that brings pre-K to the buildings? And then the last thing was, just how it addresses PSSAs being in one site versus 3 different buildings.
I would say, that 3.0 is based on 6 classrooms at Nancy Grayson. If the board felt like, hey, we want to bring pre-K back, and I don't know that there's anyone that doesn't want to bring pre-K back, we could certainly add another classroom onto that. It would just increase the price a little bit.
So as I look at things, educationally, I feel like 3 and 4 make the most sense to have all of our PSSA kids in one building. And
3 doesn't do that.
3.5,
I mean, 3.5 and 4. 3.5 and 4 make the most sense educationally for me by having similar students in similar places. And I think that's an important part. And I like the pre-K thing as well, like to have some of those little ones in our buildings. That would be great.
All right, so you slide back to number 5. Any other questions on option 5?
So I guess I have a question about 5. I know obviously, the dollars are glaring, right? It's the most expensive option. That is like the highball number, as Adam had said when he was here. Like it's priced out, at like the kind of maximum what it would be per square footage. Is that correct, Kirk?
Yes.
Okay. So my thought process is like, my preference, again, one of 9 board members, is to do something that sets us up long-term with, the least amount of construction possible, but that takes into account all of the buildings. So my thought process is to take option 5, the pod design, and have that be the one that we would move forward with so that we can send it out for engineering and design and figure out what the actual dollar amount is of the project, because we haven't really made a decision or a commitment to the borrowing at that point. And then we can, if it's out of, our price range, so to speak, like we can opt to go the other route with the 3.5 or whatever it is.
Option 3.5 is basically 5 pared down. We could just phase it in.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like you would just start with do 3rd grade 1 year, and then, temporarily, like the middle school kind of runs, like the 3.5 version, and then like the following year, like phase it in. But I don't think we can really understand what that true number is, or if we can afford it until we know, what it actually costs, engineering, parking, the whole 9 yards. And I think one of the other things that we learned when we were going through the middle school and the high school design was that, if it starts out at one number, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's where it has to land either, because Mr. August, you guys scaled back like square footages and all kinds of things to get the number down in budget.
Yeah, I think the difference though, Mr. Wolfinger, is like there were these are core classrooms.
Correct.
So like most of this is just core classroom space, where I think the high school had more to choose from. Like there were more design decisions to make within a music room, within a tech lab. Like these are like cookie cutter. They're going to be X number of square feet, and that's what we're getting.
Well, if you look at the the actual design, I mean, the drawings that they gave us, I mean, you do have a lot of space that you can nip and tuck. It would be like the kitchen expansion, the student dining, the music space, the administrative expansion. There's a lot of spaces that you could, pull square footage back.
I would say, if we need a kitchen expansion, we're going to need, if we're putting more kids in
Right.
there, we're going to have some kind of kitchen expansion.
Right.
Like if we're putting more kids, we're going to need, more spaces for them to eat lunch. So I don't know. What I would say is, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying at the high school project in particular, there were more design choices to make
Right.
that allowed us to trim that down. And,
Right.
and I also think we started, my recollection of that is we had some pretty big ideas too of what,
Oh, yeah,
what we
huge.
wanted. So it kind of naturally, whittled itself down.
I'm
once
just
we
saying,
got
by the
those
time
numbers.
you would figure out everything, like that number is going to change by the time.
Yeah, I
we
wouldn't,
would have
I
a
wouldn't
final
doubt it's
number
going to
to decide
change on, based on construction costs. It's going to change on the bids. It's going
Right.
to change by, design choices. Again, I think the general consensus is like, that's a ballpark number, like placeholder, for what the best possible number we can think of at this point of the process.
So
If we went with option 5, does that kind of take out the thinking or the need for the future to add additional space onto the high school? Do we feel like that would?
I mean, from our various meetings, we do have 10 empty classrooms currently at the high school each period. So another model of, teachers on carts could be there. I mean, you are correct. It doesn't, none of these are addressing what, at least EI suggested for the high school.
But does it give us flexibility though by moving 6th out? That's going to loosen a lot of space up in the middle school.
Yeah,
should
I mean,
we,
I think that's
need
one of
to
the
slide things
it's one of
around.
the advantages.
Okay.
Create space
Thank you.
here that could conceivably be used by the high school.
just the high school isn't included in none of this, right?
Correct.
Okay. So there's no need at the high school.
So, as this tidal wave comes through, and these things grow, as the cohorts grow, I mean, it's eventually going to get to the high school,
Yeah.
right? So, whether the high school can absorb those, with the same kind of model of, sharing classrooms or not, like we're not going to know until, we begin to see the actual numbers in the system. Okay. So there is flexibility at the high school. It may not be everybody's dream, but there is some flexibility. Okay.
But I don't want to put all my money in one basket. If the high school going to need something, I want to know it before I go the other direction. You understand what I'm saying?
So EI said something about between 10 and 12 classrooms at the high school, is what they said.
Yes.
Okay. We have some flexibility due to the block scheduling where there's roughly 10 classrooms empty every period where a teacher, could be assigned to that room. Okay. So, I'm not sure, we're ready to tackle the high school at this point. But I was relieved to know that there is space there
That's fine.
already.
I've gone through this.
But I think to your point, I think, there has to be some thought of, are we able to do something at the high school if we need to? Because certainly these decisions will impact our ability to do that.
That's what I would like.
Yeah.
Did Adam know about the 10 classrooms when he kind of said that the high school would in the future need?
I'll have to check with him. I don't know.
He did not.
I don't
He
believe
did not?
so either.
Okay.
Does now, but
Yeah.
he did not then.
What was his take after learning of that? Like, what was his response?
I just told him we wouldn't be talking about the high school very much because it's 4 or 5 years out.
I told him the same thing in
did
terms
you?
of, like, our focus is on picking one of these options.
I'm looking at Ms. Fritz. Does she have anything else?
Yeah, I don't think we need to go there yet. We're kind of focused on these, so.
Through them, but
All right, next slide, please. All right, so I just made a summary just because when you're looking at all of them, there's not much to say about this other than it's all in one space, so you can kind of compare and contrast those things. So the last slide is really kind of setting up Mr. Barwin, and this is really a crucial graph for the board to take in. So this is just construction's impact on our budget. Okay. The blue, but beneath the green, that green line that runs across is our current debt service level. Okay. Which comes out to 3.864078. That is what we have in the budget for debt service. The good news is we're currently only spending $2.8 million of that $3.8 million. So that gives us the green box, which is what I'm calling the budget buffer, which is a little over $1 million that is in our budget. That is not it's under but debt service limit number, but it's not being used for debt service. It's currently being used to close budget gaps and other budget areas. Okay, as you can see across, if we don't do anything, option 0, that $1 million continues to contribute to other budget items. So the thing I want to impress upon the board is that red dotted line box is everything that Mr. Barwin's going to talk about later and has been talking about with the budget. Okay, so those are the expenses, staffing, capital projects, all the things that I'm not going to steal his thunder, but those are still out there and still need to be considered within, with construction just being one part of that. Okay, so option 3 adds, so all these options burn through our budget buffer, which is the majority of that, of the difference. Okay, the red box above the green box is how much that construction option will add to our budget in theory, and the total is above there in black. Okay, so you need to add the 3.864078 to the black number above the red bracket. Okay, so that those two numbers are going to go together if we choose that option, and that's how much our debt service is going to be. And all right, so I don't know that there are there questions on this one. Again, I think it's just important to realize any construction is burning our buffer. It's just a matter of how far and how comfortable is the board going over that debt service limit, knowing that there's an ominously red dotted line box above that. Okay, so questions on this one?
It's a nice looking graphic.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so proud of it. It took me so long to make. Thank you. All right, last slide. All right, so this is just, I fed all this into AI, and this is what it came up with. So this is, you can certainly read them yourself. They're pretty obvious. They tell you the advantages of each one. And then the last bullet, I asked it what it should, what the board should consider, prioritize finances, enrollment growth, and long-term facility strategies. So.
I think AI left out just sort of the educational.
It did.
Which seems like an important thing to consider.
I was laughing.
That's why we still need humans. And then finally, lastly, thoughts, questions. I know we've kind of asked them as we've gone. So,
What's our time frame?
Great question, Mr. Scott. I think, Kirk, do you want to jump in? What do you think our timeline should be?
I think based on the projections of the incoming kids, middle school gets affected pretty hard in 27. So I think design this year and hope to start construction maybe next year.
At the middle school or intermediate?
Depends on which option we pick, Fred.
Yeah, depends what option, but intermediate school.
So
I think 3.5 is a very good one. I'd like to see it done in phases, because it basically becomes option 5. And it gives us a chance to wait a little bit and see if some of these projections are correct. See if we have some of the kids coming in that some of the things say. Keeps us in a decent budget for this time being. That's just what I think.
So it was a little closer there. So to Ms. Wolfinger's point, that if we look at option 5, design option 5, and do so in a phased manner where a portion is built, and then the rest is on paper. There is nothing on paper from when that school was built. However, is it in fact the
Water?
utilities? The utilities are in the building designed in a way to be extended out and added to.
Correct. I think what we do is design to option 5. We do design stormwater, all the roads, parking, everything, and say, then we let Fred pick how far we want to go. And then he can say, we want this, we don't want that. And then we can stop. And then if we need to go to pulling 6 backwards or however, I think this thing solves a lot of problems. I think option 3.5 gives us a good budget for us to sit on and watch. And then we can look at the high school as it progresses, once we get a couple more years of our school analytical, see if we're holding the same path. It's just what I think.
So to answer that question, Fred, my timeline would be, I would love to have a direction selected by the board by June, and then go to design, for over the summer, starting in the summer, and
I mean, for me, the only kickback is the teachers on the cart. I have a problem with it. I don't totally understand it. To tell you the truth, I thought when the mask situation, that was the biggest cry. Teachers didn't have interpersonal relations with students. I don't want to go back to that. So if you can explain to me why the cart is better than having a teacher in a classroom, I'll go for it.
yeah. So it's just the teacher moving to different classrooms. So the kids are in the same classroom. I mean, it's just kind of like what happens at the high school.
I don't know what happens at the high school.
Well, I mean, kids get up, they walk to another, their next class. Their teacher's there waiting for them. It mostly impacts the teacher because they'll be on the cart.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be the ones walking too, rather than having the teacher in the room waiting for them. The teacher would be arriving with the students.
All right.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Well, just a quick question, as far as like the traffic study needs done, did we already address that, or do we need to approve and get that done so it can be done during the summer here?
Well, no,
Before the summer, we didn't make it.
well, we haven't gotten there yet because
Okay.
kind of we were waiting for options. We know it needs to be done. EI knows it needs to be done. They may have reached out to try to get some quotes back,
Okay.
but I haven't.
I knew
We haven't talked
trying to
about
get that done ahead of time if we could.
Well, if everybody is on board with expansion of at least one pod at SACES, it's golden, we can move.
I mean, is it a good time to kind of go around and get everybody's, like, where everybody is? Is it too early for that? Do you want more time to think about it?
I think we're good.
It's not a roll
I think it's a
call.
good time.
Okay.
Are you asking specifically is it to make a motion to have a traffic study done for possible future construction at the intermediate school?
But
And-
that's going to happen whether, no matter.
Yeah, I
what we
mean,
do. I don't
Well, the
think
timing of it is if we do it now, if we do it today, we can possibly get the traffic study done before the end of the school year versus having
Correct.
to wait this summer until we're back in session in the fall.
It seems like most people are on board with. an
Is it
expansion.
needed?
What?
Is it out there in that township? Is it going to be needed?
We don't know. We have to start the process and approach the township.
You're just asking if it's needed. That's all we're doing.
And I think it's contingent upon the board selecting an option.
Yeah.
It is.
And so, I mean, is
My chicken's
it a good time to go around to see which option board members are favoring at this point?
yes.
Well, every option involves the intermediate school, so
Right.
wouldn't it make sense to take care of a traffic study? I would entertain a motion. I'm not allowed to make one.
I'd like to make a motion that we get a traffic study done at the middle school,
I'll second.
At the intermediate school.
Jimmy.
At the interview.
just the intermediate school for now.
There is a motion on the table to complete a traffic study for the area of the intermediate school by Mr. Noggle, seconded by Ms. Wolfinger. Is there any discussion?
Are we asking to do it, or we're going to ask if we need to do it?
Fred, we're going to ask if we need to do it. On the original print, on the last ACES build, they waived it.
Okay.
They may waive it again. I don't
Okay,
know.
that's what-
But we
that's
have
what-
to have our professionals. But if they request it,
Then we do it.
then we do it.
Yeah, I have no
So
problem.
that's what this motion is.
Okay.
We ask, if we need it, we do.
I don't want to throw a wrench in the works, but we had a presentation last meeting about a whole bunch of new roads at that same facility. Do those roads impact the potential use of those roads? Would that impact a traffic study?
I may be wrong, but I think the traffic study is done utilizing existing roads, wouldn't take into account future road construction.
I think that's right.
Okay.
But we do have those prints. If we can incorporate, see what we need.
Can I get a clarification on what the motion is? The motion is to do what?
To authorize a traffic study be done at SACES.
But it may be that it's really just to find out if one needs to be done, right?
You have to have a motion to find out if we need one done. If we don't, then we're done.
So
But if we need one, we have to have the approval to get one.
So this is also the approval to have one done. So if we find out we need one, we don't have to come back at the beginning of next month to have another vote.
Yeah.
be
So
given.
it's really kind of a double motion to find out if we need one, and then also if we need one to proceed with having it done.
Dr. Goetz, could you help us out here?
Language. Key languages.
Professor, too.
I thought you got to a pretty good place.
I think that's perfect.
Give us a motion.
After watching,
Mr.
he's a
Barber.
little slow. He doesn't talk as fast with one hand.
Mr. Barwin, I think you had a.
Yeah, just on the motion, I'll pay it out of, if we do go through with it, I'll pay it out of fund balance to be reimbursed for when we do the borrowing, just to make that clear. That was done.
Okay, and this motion is being made as part of a conversation that has been ongoing for a number of months, has been on the agenda for a number of months for discussion. So I'd like to ask if there's anybody here who would have public comment on that item. Okay, seeing none. Any other comments from the board?
Are we good enough with the language of the motion, Mr.
I guess
August?
that's a Mr. Barwin question, isn't it?
So I have a motion to authorize to check if a traffic study needs to be done, and then to proceed with that traffic study if it is required.
There you go.
Very good.
Fund balance.
Paid out of fund balance.
To be reimbursed by bond proceeds.
There you go.
Mr. Barwin, can you complete it?
Dr. Goetz.
Dr. Goetz?
I mean, I may be throwing unnecessary wrenches. But it seems to me that there are several different potential options for the intermediate school on the table. And if I were trying to make the decision about whether a traffic study needed to be done, like from the township's perspective, I might be interested in knowing whether the school district intends to add 1 grade or whether the district intends to add 2 grades. Which is a decision we have not made. So I suppose we're going to have to make that clear to them as well, to say we haven't yet made that decision. So if we, again, do we need a traffic study if we add 2 grades? Do we need a traffic study if we add 1 grade? And what those traffic studies might look like. I mean, I don't know. There's a little bit more conditionality to it, and I'm fully okay with just moving forward and getting what needs to be done so that our options are open. But I just, want everyone to know, I mean, we should all be clear so that there's no surprises that there's a lot going on here.
We are going to be looking to design to the larger size on everything. We may not choose to do parking lots to the larger size, but design on paper and get approval, stormwater, parking, egress, roads, streets and roads to the larger size.
Essentially
And-
option 5.
Right, essentially option 5.
3.5 on the way to option 5. Is that what you're saying?
No, design to option
Well, I
5.
guess,
that's
yeah,
what I
I
mean,
guess
right,
design to option 5, but we could probably make it clear that we're, even if we eventually get to option 5, that's probably not going to happen immediately.
Correct, but we can get the designs done. Future boards can then, they should be able to pull the trigger, check for an update on any regulation changes. Should be minor, and they can pull the trigger.
Thank you, Kirk.
Go around to see where people are.
We have a motion.
We do the
Oh, wait,
motion.
why don't you do the motion first? Sorry.
We have a motion on the table to complete a traffic study for construction at the intermediate school for a traffic study for potential construction at the intermediate school that would encompass all of option 5 as far as 2 grades moving to that building. Mr. Noggle, does that encompass
Yes.
any other discussion? Mr. Barwin, can you complete a roll call?
A second, I think. Do you need a second?
Oh, well,
Becky.
Ms. Wolfenor was the
Thank you.
the second.
Yeah.
I can, you want me to do roll call?
Please.
Dr. Goetz,
Yes.
Dr. Lyman,
Yes.
Mr. Noggle,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Bard,
Yes.
Mr. Carey,
Yes.
Mr. Suitors,
Yes.
Mrs. Wolfinger,
Yes.
and Mr. Alosi.
Yes.
I would also like to make a motion that we proceed with design and engineering of option 5.
There's a motion to proceed with design of option 5.
Fred Scott seconds.
Fred, board member Scott, Mr. Scott seconds. Any discussion?
Educationally, I'm not in favor of anything that looks like having 3rd grade and 6th grade in the same building. I don't see that as a smart move on our part. That just, having a 9-year-old in the same building as a 13-year-old just doesn't sit well with me. So I feel like we shouldn't design a building that would create that kind of an environment. I think we should look at other options before we do something like that.
Yeah, I guess it's time to make my comment too. And I've missed a lot of the past meetings, so I apologize for that. But I guess I don't know the pedagogical concerns. I mean, I don't know. It's weird that we have 9th graders in with 12th graders. They're pretty different from each other. I remember when I was, I don't know. Mr. August, was it you that said that current education is prisoner to what old,
Factory?
what parents' educations look like? I remember when I was a kid, there was our high schools were all 3-year high schools, and then there was a conversation about them becoming 4-year high schools, and that was a big concern. Like, everybody was like, how can we have 9th grade age kids with 12th grade age kids? They're all very different. And now that's just like the norm, right? I mean, I don't know. Everybody does that, and nobody thinks it's that big of a deal. So I wonder. I mean, I don't know, but that does start to look like a pretty stinking big building down there, right? Like, I don't know if it's going to be something close to twice as big as it is presently, and that gives me pause. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm not saying no, but I feel like I need to be a little more convinced that that's the best solution, to add 2 grades. I do like, and I have liked for years, the idea, although certainly some educators I've heard of not a big fan of this, but I think we'd probably get used to it, of moving 3rd grade to the intermediate school and having having Nancy Grayson and James Bird just be, K through 2. I think that makes sense logistically, if it's not perfect pedagogically. So that's 3.5, right? So I guess the question that I wanted to bring up earlier is, one of the issues that we're trying to solve in the short term is this bubble that's coming through and that will be in the middle school soon. None of these 3.5 doesn't address that. A phased in option 5 doesn't address that. So I guess we're saying we're pretty comfortable with just having to squeeze that bubble through the middle school at this point. I think that's what I'm hearing. And if that's what I'm hearing, then I guess I would say I would want to hold off on making any grand decisions about more space in the middle school and the high school, because current enrollment numbers suggest that that is a bubble. And like kindergarten, first grade, right? I mean, those numbers are lower now than they had been. I mean, unless I'm reading the numbers wrong. So while I get that the district is, I don't know. It's just, I feel like 3.5 is the right decision for sort of long-term planning, but if the problem we're trying to address is that short-term bubble, like I don't think that this is addressing that problem, and maybe that's fine. And if it's not addressing that bubble,
Yeah, I think you're right on in that it's not a facility solution to that problem. It's just a fairly significant change in philosophy at the middle school, from a middle school model to a junior high model, which gives more flexibility, in being able to use classroom space differently. So, I mean, I would hesitate to say it just addresses the middle school with staffing and change of philosophy.
right? And I'm comfortable with that, and I think that makes sense, right? So we're not offering a facilities solution to the bubble problem. We're offering an administrative solution to the bubble problem.
Option 4 would offer a facilities solution to the middle school.
We may not need a facility. I mean, I guess what I'm hearing and have been hearing is that we don't necessarily need a facilities solution to the bubble problem.
To elementary.
Well, to the middle school.
There's
the
a-
bubble's
there's a
already in the
twofold
elementary.
problem no, there's more enrollment coming in elementary.
I mean, as we
Grayson,
look at
at the
the
Grayson
the
side.
whole cohorts grow over time from the predictive analytic.
Predictive analytical doesn't even have some of the new current developments in them. I can't remember how many more homes coming. There's another
Like
batch of them
700 houses that are not on there.
that are not in that.
Agreed, which is why I'm saying 3.5 I think makes sense for like long-term planning. But
I don't think anybody says that we have to pull 6 back. That's not what the commitment is about. What
No.
this commitment would be about would be doing a design that you could actually call option 5. Just you design it, it's done. You have the ability to bring another class,
It's the future.
somebody else.
It's the future.
We need-
well, I guess I'm in favor of the motion if the design
Just design.
is done in that way, right? Like the design what am I trying to say? Presupposes a phased building plan rather than presupposes an immediate, like, we are doing 5.
Okay, can I clarify? When we say 5, remember there were 4 options for 5. There were 2 options for 5. I'm assuming pod is what you're looking for?
Yeah,
'Cause that is the
that's
cheaper?
what my original motion was going to be, but I'm actually going to rescind my motion just so that we can allow for more public discussion with us kind of going ahead and deciding it. It's not on the agenda. It's not, in a place where the community can come and make a comment about how they would feel about it. So I'm going to go ahead and rescind my motion.
And then, Mr. Scott, you seconded that. Would you agree with her withdrawing the motion? That would be taking it all out of consideration tonight for a vote, but what we could do is place it on action agenda at the next meeting, and that would allow for public to be notified of a vote taking place.
I
way there's an opportunity, Fred, for,
I
because
understand.
it's not on the agenda for the public to have
I
an opinion,
have
or
no-
teachers that want to come and discuss, or anybody else.
I'll do that, but I just need clarification. 3.5 is going to be, could be 5, correct? We do.
It could be.
We could design it to
Right.
5.
If you want it, we can design, if we do the pods, we can design enough to get 2 classes. I don't care what they are.
But I mean, that
Yeah, Fred, I think what you said, right. So I think 5,
it's the ultimate. That's the ultimate.
right. So that it's just a matter of which one to do first. You know, so like that's another question. Did we move 3rd grade down there first? Did we move 6th grade down there first? You know, so that's another consideration. But I think Mrs. Wolfinger is saying add that to the
Discussion, or
Action.
to action next time. That way we would have the ability for the public.
Okay, so I don't know that we need a motion to do that.
No, I think
No,
it's
but I
just,
just wanted to withdraw.
Yeah.
she withdrew her motion.
Yeah, that's good
and then
enough
who-
for me.
All right, then he agrees. We'll place it on the agenda for action next time, and public will be given due notice for the opportunity to come and speak on that. Mr. August, turn it back to you.
Well, that
You left off
uh,
was the executive summary.
11th, or do you want me to go through it?
why don't you go ahead real quick? Why don't you go? So, adding on to this, fleshing this out, I told you that I wasn't going to steal his thunder, so now I'm going to allow him to thunder, you know, through some budget items here.
I'll be quick on this. I can revisit it to May 11th. So this is kind of what I shared with the Finance Committee last week. Again, you know, kind of why we're in this situation, looking budgetary-wise as well, why costs are going up. We look at our enrollment spike dating back to 2021. We've added a lot. This is enrollment as of October 1st of each year, dating back to 15-16. So you can see that huge spike, 2021 onward. Next slide. This is the special ed enrollment. So as we had that growth from 2021, you can see our special education enrollment has also gone with it. We've added about 205 special ed enrollment from 2021 to 2024-25 there. So again, when looking at the budget and things that hinder the budget, when we look at special education, sometimes those costs become higher with placements, higher needs. So we can see that with 205 kiddos being added since 2021, it's been a hinder on our budget. Move forward, Leslie or Bill, I don't know who's. So when we're looking at projects too, we're trying to project out where we're going to be when we're talking about a $20 million borrowing or a $40 million borrowing, the impact over the next few years. So this is a projection that was put out by PASBO that looks at the Act 1 index going forward. So this was projected in December of 2025. It has the base, like what they project the state base index to be the next 4 years out. So you can see in 27-28, it's 3.2%. Following year, it kind of stays around 3.3, 3.3, and then 3.1 in 30-31. So again, the state base index is given out, you know, by the state, and then we have an adjusted Act 1 index solely for Shippensburg School District. Our Act 1 index is always higher than the state-based index, and it's been trending about 1.2% higher than what the state index is. So we could probably assume that we're going to be around 4%, I would say, if these projections are right on the base index. Next slide. Any questions? Feel free to, any questions, let me know. All right, so this is a chart. You might be better looking at it on your packet there. So this is the Act 1 index history. So we just talked about the state base index. This is our index mixed in with it. So the chart there, it's dating back to fiscal year 2017. We'll start with the blue line. So the blue line there is where the state index is for those years. The dots show for that year what the percent was for the state index. The orange line above it, again, remember our adjusted Act 1 index is always above the base index usually, shows where our adjusted Act 1 index was for that fiscal year. The gray line shows where the board at that time approved the tax increase to be if there was one. So you can see there we had 2 years, fiscal year 20, fiscal year 21, where we had 2 zeros, which impact the budget greatly when you look at it in the out years. Those 2 years could have generated right around like $1.4, $1.5 million if we went to the index. When we talk about budget deficits and future spending or future borrowings, that has a direct impact on us not being able to go higher than where we are. On the out years, I projected, you can see there 4% for the adjusted index. The blue line shows there, like on the last slide, where they see the base index is going to be. Now I have just a snippet up top there where I looked all the way back, and you guys have seen this slide before, but dating back to 2000 to 2008, we've had 32.1 million lost revenue by not increasing to the index. And so that compounds over time to that $32.1 million. Okay, next slide. This is just in chart form. Have the numbers instead of a graph. So it shows the state index, our adjusted index, and then the tax increase that was done for that fiscal year. Next slide. Okay, so debt service, and I know Bill hit on this on his graph slide that he's proud of. This is a $20 million borrow. Looking at our debt service right now, if I'm focusing on the chart to the right, the blue line shows our debt service budget, okay? So dating back to 1920, we were the same. So we were spending what we budgeted for our debt service payments. Okay, that fell off, our payments fell off. The board decided to keep debt service budget line the same, and even though our payments were going lower, okay? Smart move, because eventually we knew down the line more borrowing was to come. So keep that in place, allow for a little buffer there for our budget. You can see that has creeped back up a little bit. With the $20 million borrowing, we'd be increasing that debt service line by about $100,000 in 27, 28 to get to that amount if we do a $20 million borrowing over 25 years. Okay? So right there in the chart on the left, we have for 26-27 budget, 3.8 in the budget. Our actual payments are going to come in at 2.8. Okay, so we've added $200,000 from 25-26 to 26-27 to start preparing ourselves for a future borrowing. You can see the changes there in 27-28 and 28-29, where our actuals meet our budget for this borrowing. Okay, next slide. This just shows a $40 million borrowing.
So just, can I jump? So
Sure.
a $20 million borrow is roughly 3.5, version 3.5.
That is 3.
It's around there, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit below. I mean, 3.5, I think it was 95,000 more.
Based on the chart I saw.
Based on the beautiful chart, yes. Okay. So that's showing where we would be with version
Or 25
3.5.
year. Okay, next slide, $40 million borrowing. So again, the same chart on the right, it just shows the increases that we'd have to do to our blue line, our debt service budget, to meet up with the actuals So the chart on the left there, again, we inserted that $200,000 for next year's budget to start preparing for the impact of the possible borrowing. 27, 28, that jumps $1.1 million in budget number, okay? But our payment jumps $2 million, okay? So we talk about that buffer that we have in the budget, that buffer that we use to offset some of our budget woes that we've had the past few years, becomes real, right? It becomes actual expense. It's not a buffer anymore. So we're adding that as actual expense to the budget. Okay, and we go as high, this could be fluctuating around 5.1, 5.2 million in the out years to 28, all the way to 2030.
Just for clarification, what are the numbers in the column furthest to the?
That was just
right?
my math on what we'd have to add to the budget. So we added $200,000 to the budget from 25, 26 to 26, 27. And we'd have to add that 1.1 million to 27, 28
To keep up with our debt.
to make our
service.
budget match our actual payment for debt service. Right.
You know, I appreciate this graph, and it's just, you know, on the one hand, it's been good budgeting, I think, for us to, you know, sort of keep that blue line, right? Each year we budget and we, you know, sort of say this is what our potential debt service budget is. But what this graph doesn't show, and I've pointed this out before, is it doesn't show it as a percentage of our overall expenditures or revenue, right? So if you go back to 1920 there, right? I mean, that blue line represents a much higher percentage of the district's expenditures than it does in the present year. If we had sort of kept that blue line consistent at a percentage basis, it would probably exceed even where it might be with a $40 million borrow. And I'm not at all necessarily proposing a $40 million borrow, but it just makes the point that it's not, I don't think, at all unreasonable relative to where the district was, say, 10 years ago or whatever.
Right. And I would say having that buffer in the budget we've been able to put money aside, I would say, in fund balance, and use fund balance, whether throughout the year or for summer projects, like a roof or things like that. The worry here would be that buffer goes away. We add, you know, $2.4 million of actual expense. The worry would be to deplete fund balance and not, you know, put more cookies in the cookie jar, to knock off some of these capital projects that we have in our facilities. And if we're not putting cookies away in the cookie jar, we revert back to this, right? We revert back to, we don't have the money in our bank account, so we have to go out and borrow for a project or something that would need done, which that also has added costs with borrowing money, fees associated with it as well. Okay, next slide. Really, I just wanted to hit on this for a little, like, just to show the debt service. This was a slide back, I think, in April that we showed. Numbers changed a little bit. But this shows our budget scenarios and our deficit that we're facing, but we're able to offset $1 million of that because of we're budgeting the debt service, that buffer there. So if that goes away and becomes real, we don't have that anymore to offset our deficits. Okay, and hopefully the state comes through with that rate to learn adequacy money, but more on that in a couple slides. Good, on the next slide if no questions. So I tried to put in chart form what the out years would look like based on projections out to 5 years. I looked at past trends, especially with our personnel and benefits, With our enrollment spike, especially, not only that, but our special ed spike, we've been having to add personnel the past few years at a rapid rate, okay? And if the growth is still coming, like they say it is in the analytical model, I don't anticipate that going away if more kids are going to come. So benefits and personnel, I kind of remained like the same as the past couple years. And then the other area that we have to look at, again, this dates back to our cost drivers too, our special ed costs, our transportation costs. Cyber, special ed, and transportation, those three, okay? So when we add kids each year, that we can expect those costs to keep rising as well, right? Because some will probably go cyber, some, as we see, are gonna be special ed kiddos, and then transportation's always a need for when we're adding more kids, so the possibility of adding a bus or two as well. Okay, so that's kind of how I based my expenditures. Revenues, I tried to use the projections of the base index and project out if we were to go to that index and add in our assessed values that we've been seeing. Again, that can fluctuate. It could be higher than what this is projecting, or it could be a little lower based on if those homes do actually come, or what happens with that model over the next 5 years. So, and I left limited state money in this, and you can see what happens there as we go out to the out years. Our expenditures outpace our revenues a good bit year over year, and becomes a wider gap as we get to the out years. That line at the bottom is our fund balance that we would need to offset any deficits that we'd have those years, and it would be depleted in the out years as we look into 2030.
Then what?
And what?
Then what?
Well, if this trends this way, then you're probably looking at cuts. You're going to have to, so personnel and benefits is 68% of the budget.
That's in every
You're
business.
looking at
So,
that.
I mean, that's in every business, but are we,
Yeah, so Fred, at that point, you cut people and programs. That's the only way you're gonna balance your budget.
why put the people in the programs in there if we know we can't afford them in the future?
Well, our enrollment is driving that, Fred,
I understand that, but I understand that, but.
which is kind of the crux of our problem.
Yeah, the enrollment going to keep increasing.
Right. So I think that's the balance of the borrowings that we're faced with. Like, do we increase that debt service line $2.4 million and have this scenario possibly happen?
The other thing you can do is you could increase class size. There's no good answer when you get into this.
And I understand, I'm just trying to see why, if we know you're telling me that you're projecting and guarantee that we're going to be out of money, why am I hiring all these teachers if I know I can't keep them, I'm about to lay them off?
Why it's mostly imperative is that what we pick we're gonna build, that we can afford it. If we stay within our affordability, then that probably doesn't have to change.
But if the students are driving it, it doesn't make no difference about affordability.
Well, let's burn it down.
The problem is we're growing faster than our ability to tax.
Yes.
The next thing that has to happen, we got to go see our legislators, representatives, this budget, this information.
I'm not blaming anybody, but when kids come, we're supposed to educate them by state law, but eventually when the pot's empty, we're laying teachers off.
I don't think we're the only school. I think Carlisle has got problems. Lancaster's got big problems.
Cumberland Valley got problems too.
Yeah, it's not unique to us.
Yeah.
So,
I think that we just want to be if we're going to become insolvent, we want to be the last ones to become insolvent.
Nice thought.
That way,
But I think part of it is unique to SHIP too, because not every school in Cumberland County or Franklin County is growing at the pace that we are.
correct.
So they aren't faced with these, I would say, personnel issues, I would say, as much
I
as we
understand.
are.
I'm more worried about Shippensburg. I just hiring the teachers for 3 or 4 years to lay them off. I'm just not comfortable with that.
Well, this is showing with the $40 million borrowing. I mean, it
So
could.
these numbers are
Right,
$40 million borrow?
Right.
Okay. Because It's a nice chart, but it's scary.
It is scary.
Wait till you see the next
Which-
one.
I
Which a
saw
lot
the
of-
next one. It's more of
Yeah.
a roller coaster.
Could I ask
than a
about
nice little
this one?
slope.
Before we move on, though, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was
you're
afraid
fine.
it was going to go forward. And so on this current slide, it shows kind of like the picture shows that we used fund balance for this current academic year to balance the budget. That's on paper, but how much from last fiscal year was left over at the completion of that year?
In
2020.
June of 2025, we had a $442,000 deficit.
So then that gets pulled from,
Right, it decreases our fund balance by that amount because our expenditures were higher than our revenues for that fiscal year.
so when the budget was passed for this current fiscal year, was it a balanced budget that
It
was
was not a
passed?
balanced budget. Nope.
What was the
For
deficit?
25, for the current year we're living, you're talking for 25, 26?
Correct.
I'd have to go back and look. It was close to 2 million, but that included no new state money, right? So we had state money come in that wasn't expected, the Ready to Learn adequacy money, which was $1.2 million added. And then we'd also had some basic ed and special ed funding come as well. Again, the state didn't pass their budget till December. The board had to pass their budget in the beginning of June.
If I recall, it would have been a balanced budget.
It was very close,
Not
yes.
for the roof repair or something
Right,
like that,
right.
right?
So that 400,000 went towards a one-time expense?
Right. It went to James Bird roof we had done last summer, which was, I think, around
One
1.4
that leaked.
million.
Okay, so then the other question is, and I think I gave, maybe you're answering this forward, so I apologize if I'm asking something you plan on presenting, but
No problem.
areas of efficiency, areas of where costs can be reduced,
Right.
and we know we have those core costs that we must pay, personnel,
Right.
insurance, that what parts of the district can be reduced
Right.
by being creative?
Yep. I think
Efficiency.
it's so I would start by saying it's hard to look at efficiencies when we're growing at the pace that we're growing because it's growing expenses that we really don't have much control over, I would say, for those expenses. I would say an area that we're looking at is definitely in the special ed realm. Those costs have gone increasingly high, but we're looking at ways to get placements back near the district or bring kids back into the district, which I think is going to be talked about more at a future meeting.
Actually, there's 4 people waiting patiently to explain how there may be some efficiencies there.
Right. And I think transportation with those kiddos as well, when we have a special ed placement, sometimes that can go as far as like, New Cumberland. And we're sending a van all the way to New Cumberland for one kiddo, and it's not cheap. So with the enrollment spike in special ed, there's trying to find ways of efficiency, I would say, around that. Maybe a consortium of transportation or buddying up with a district that we could use if they're going to the same place. But really taking a hard look at those placements, I would say, is where the efficiencies could come from what we're seeing as the cost drivers.
So, are you okay? So I just, I appreciate the graph, but also sort of like, this looks like a doomsday sort of graph. And honestly, like if we had looked at a similar chart maybe 5 years ago, it probably would say the same thing about this year,
Right.
but it didn't happen.
Right.
And it didn't happen for a few reasons. One, like the state came through with additional funding that 5 years ago we certainly didn't anticipate, right? And no one could have budgeted that. No one would have known, right? So we don't know what we don't know, right? And I don't want to give too a Pollyanna a view of the future, but also I also want to counteract provide a counterpoint to the sort of doomsday projection of the future too, is that we could have projected a doomsday 5 years ago and it didn't happen because, for one, the state came through with money, but then also I'm gonna guess, Caleb, that you didn't project in one of the things that continually increases our fund balance, which is the unprojectable real estate, whatever tax that comes when, you know, our warehouses exchange hands or whatever. We get those taxes, and you can't budget that stuff. So I assume you didn't budget that stuff, but that always comes in, and you always end up
Right.
with more money than you think you're going to, because those inevitably happen, even though you can't budget it.
Right.
So I guess when I look at this, I'm like, yeah, like this is a conservative. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but it's a conservative. Like, yeah, we need to be careful, and maybe we don't want to borrow $4 million, but also it doesn't mean that the sky is falling, because while we do need to be conservative and careful, there will always be revenue sources that we might not even imagine, as long as we're not being stupid. Like, you know, we're probably going to be okay. And especially as you say, like other districts. Sorry, I keep talking, but I'm just going to add one more point. You know, the debt service balance. Like I just looked some stuff up, and I mean we're, I think, under 5% of our expenditures are debt service. And the average for Pennsylvania school district is somewhere between 6 and 7%. So we're well below the average, if my data is correct.
It is correct.
And so we're not doing anything irresponsible, right? Like, you know, a $20 million borrow, a $30 million borrow, like that still puts us below or at the average of what other districts are doing in Pennsylvania. So as long as we are, you know, not going crazy, you know, with sort of unusual expenditures, I think we're well within the bounds of fiscal responsibility.
The other thing I wanted to add is, since I've been on the board, yeah, you're right. There's always been extra money come in. Whenever we hit the level, once we hit the level debt spending, we haven't been there for a good while. There's always been that slush fund.
Correct, for sure.
You know, so we've been eating up that slush fund in expenditures for, you know, staffing, roofs, that type of stuff. And I don't believe that Caleb's, Mr. Barwin, sorry, budget is making up for past maintenance that we haven't done. How much did you budget in maintenance in this?
We added 400,000 for 26-27 to the maintenance.
Just 400,000 for that.
Right. For
We have 15 or 17 million dollars worth of or things that are just outdated. Look at the carpet in the library in the senior high. You know, just that we need to address that too. And we're not in this budget. So what you're speaking to is offset as well.
Well, right.
I'm not trying to be.
Like I said, I don't want to give a Pollyanna view. We need to be responsible. We need to be conservative. But, you know, I don't want to scare people by saying, like, hey, we're hiring people that we're probably going to have to lay off in 4 or 5 years. I don't think that's at all likely.
Right. This is merely a projection. Again, we take it
That's correct.
year by year, each budget year by year, as new things come out from the state, as new things come from the district. This is just merely a projection. And the transfer tax, I would say, yes, happens, but it's not something that I would ever have budgeted, just because it's a one-time revenue. So we don't want to add that to our budget. We don't want to offset reoccurring expenses with one-time money, right? Because then the
Correct.
following year, that revenue source is not there, but we still have that reoccurring expense that year.
That was like accounting 101 right there.
All right. Next, any other questions we can? Yeah. So it's the same slide, similar, just shows a bit differently.
Different scale, so it looks way scale.
Right. It looks like a ski slope, I guess.
Did you produce this one? This was one of Mrs. Lentz's, wasn't it?
Yes, Miss Lentz had this one right. She had this one a few years ago, right? I updated it for the out years, but she did use.
Two business administrators.
Right. Yeah, she used this one. Again, the blue line is our general fund, and our orange line is our capital reserve. I don't want to spend if you don't want to spend too much time, okay, if we
Keep going.
had to hit on this last slide, but.
This is still based on that $40 million.
Right, it's based on that, yep. Okay, next slide, please. So just some considerations. I know we're really late on time. So,
I'm hungry.
as we look at considerations for the future, okay, we have a falling Act 1 index. So the lever that the board's able to pull on revenue is declining, right? That's what it's projecting. The assessment growth, we're a growing district, so we're going to have assessment growth along with any tax increase that we might have. So that's revenue generated for us each year due to us growing.
Can I ask a question that you probably can't answer? Someone mentioned that we're getting a whole bunch of new housing in the district. I know that also means increased property tax revenue,
Right.
but those houses are filled potentially with children as well. So
Right.
do those generally kind of just sort of offset each other, or is that?
I think it depends on how many kids.
Because it could just be a couple that moves in because they're going to retire in Shippensburg.
Could be, you're right. Right, and we look at the assessment values that we get from Franklin County and Cumberland County and work that into the budget. But you're right, it's hard to predict the expense that's coming with those homes because you just don't know who's moving into the home.
Yeah, okay.
I don't,
I told you it was a question you couldn't answer.
I think the cost of the child to put through school is far outweighs the median income generated by one household.
For the tax.
Right, and I mean, it just goes back to like, what is that kiddo? Is he a cyber charter kiddo? Is he a special ed placement kiddo? That's right. It's just, yeah. State funding, the state is spending down their reserves in each of their past budgets. So again, as they spend down their emergency fund, it gets a bit scarier as to what that might mean for us in the future. We're kind of at all-time highs, I would say, with this ready-to-learn adequacy money that's been floating these past couple years from the state. So it's hard to predict to see if that's going to continue as they spend down their emergency fund. Medical cost increases, we've been seeing record high medical cost increases the past 3 years, okay? So we had a 15%, a 10%, and then we're projected a 9% for next year's budget, okay? So again, that seems to be a new trend of floating between from what they say is that 7 to 10% range in the next couple years, expect to be in that ballpark. Again, we always have annual salary and wage increases, retirement PEASers, pension increases with PEASers, inflation needs to be factored in, and then our cyber charter special ed costs. Next slide. I don't know if anybody saw this or not, but this was I think, very well done and captures what the state's kind of doing.
What the state's not doing.
Right, you could say it that way too. So over the past 2 years, again, we see that ready-to-learn adequacy money at $2.5 million, but the funding gap that we still have is at that $9 million that the state should be helping us with $9 million, which would come in huge right now for us. So again, and it has at the bottom there what is in Governor Shapiro's budget, proposed budget for 26-27. It has in there the ready-to-learn adequacy money and then small increases to basic ed funding, special ed funding. Those we do not have in our 26-27 budget currently, revenue-wise.
So I'm going to put a plug in here. We have a little bit of pull as board members, and when we contact our elected officials, they pay a little bit more attention to us than your average constituent. I wrote to Senator Rothman last week about another item that I'm passionate about. He responded to me. So I would encourage all of you, like, this is a very professionally done thing. It's a great thing. Contact the people that are on the right-hand side of that page there and tell them we need the money that we should be getting, and it might make a difference. So do those things that they told you in civics class in high school. Write to your elected officials, and it might actually do something.
Next slide, please. And then this just shows the Ready to Learn adequacy money for next year. They're proposed at 1.2. Right now we have the foundation of 3 million. Again, I know there was talk about, we passed a resolution not to increase above the index for 26, 27. Okay, so if we didn't pass that resolution and taxed above the index, we would lose out on this Ready to Learn adequacy money from the state. That's a new quirk they had put in the budget. Okay, next slide, please. I think that might be it.
I only wonder why I hated math.
All right, I think we're ready to start the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. August. We're going to move on to the consent agenda, which is the approval of minutes, finance reports, and personnel. I just would like to highlight 4 individuals that are new appointments to the district, new hires, which would be Diane Noggle, Jennifer Lease, Gretchen Miller, and Brenna Thompson. Welcome to Shippensburg Area School District. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Let's go ahead and make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Wolfinger. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries. Moving on to the action agenda. Item 5A is the facility dog at James Byrd. This is for the approval of a facility dog at James Byrd Elementary School. Administration recommends approval to move forward with obtaining a facility dog through the United Disability Service for James Byrd Elementary School. The facility dog will be utilized to help students or staff who are withdrawn, depressed, anxious, or experiencing emotional issues. The dog's presence may assist the person to feel more calm and decrease stress levels. The dog will support the needs of the students and staff in the entire building. Is there a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Dr. Lyman,
I want that one. I want the dog.
any discussion?
It's a race.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. 5B is a new club, National English National Honor Society. Mr. Anthony Massara and Ms. Autumn Jones, teachers at the high school, are requesting approval to form a new club activity to recognize students who have demonstrated excellence and dedication to ELA courses and have a passion for reading and writing. Additional information regarding the club is attached. Administration recommends that the Board of Directors approve this request. Is there a motion for approval?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5C, updated memorandum of understandings with law enforcement. Administration recommends the approval of the attached MOUs with Shippensburg Police Department, Pennsylvania State Police, and Shippensburg University Police. MOUs were updated per a recent Act 47 requirement to contain language around timely coordination with law enforcement and threat assessment. Is there a motion to approve?
Let's go make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Item 5D is Diacon Youth Center for a 26-27 contract. The administration recommends that the board approve a contract with Diacon Youth Services for the 2026-27 school year. Diacon Youth Services provides a range of programs for at-risk youth, primarily serving individuals referred by county juvenile probation departments and child and youth services. Diacon has entered into a partnership with the Capital Area Intermediate Unit to provide services upon request directly to school districts. The proposed contract establishes a rate for a district-initiated referrals as $192.57 a day. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Fred Scott, second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Item 5E, grant applications. Administration recommends a retro approval of the attached Highmark grant applications for the intermediate school, the middle school, and the high school. The grant applications were completed in partnership with the Greyhound Foundation and the Student Service Department. If awarded, the funds will be used to enhance existing sensory and calming spaces that aim to help students regulate emotions, manage stress, and remain engaged in learning. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Is there a
Second.
second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Good job. I like this one.
All right, and I believe Ms. Sue Fink is here from the foundation. Once again, we want to thank you for the work that you're doing in the foundation. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries. Item 5F, Microsoft Enrollment for Education Solution Renewals. The Intermediate Unit 13 will be releasing our renewal quote in early April, and a purchase order will be required by May 15th. Last year, the renewal was $35,213.40. The renewal cost is based on the number of teachers we have. This renewal represents a 3 of our 5-year agreement. This agreement provides the district with access to our our email addresses, as well as Microsoft applications as Word, Excel. It also includes licensing for our network servers and support district data, the HVAC system, and the door access system. Additionally, the agreement enables us to be more effectively able to manage our newer Windows devices. Is there a motion to approve?
Fred Scott, make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5G, 2026-27 proposed final general fund budget. The administration is recommending a 2026-27 proposed final general fund budget of $80,631,226 in expenditures, with projected revenues of $77,539,459. Sorry. The projected revenues will include a tax increase to the Shippensburg area district adjusted Act 1 index of 4.7%. I believe that is to the index. With keeping the debt service line flat on expenditure side, the deficit comes down to $2,051,536. The revenues also include no new state money, which could change as the governor proposes an additional $1,286,012 in adequacy supplement, $109,465 in basic education funding, and $119,827 in special education funding. If the budget proposed by the governor passes with those increases, our deficit will be down to $536,232. The numbers can change between now and the final general fund budget. The proposed final budget for the district will be made available for public inspection at least 20 days prior to the adoption of the final budget. The board will tentatively take final action on the 26-27 final general fund budget at the June 8th, 2026 Planning and Action meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
Fred Scott, make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Item 5H, Food Service Management Company renewal and meal prices for 2026-27. At the April 8th, 2024 board meeting, the Board of Directors awarded a rebid of food service management to Chartwells effective July 1st of 2024. The contract has allowed 4 additional one-year renewals. The attached 26-27 contract renewal, which includes meal pricing, is the second renewal year available under the current contract. Administration is recommending approval for the attached 1-year renewal contract and meal prices. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion
Yes, the dates on the agenda item need to be changed.
for 26-27 or the 2024?
Uh,
2024 is when the initial contract
Oh,
was
that's when it was
adopted
originally awarded.
with
Never mind, I
4
wrote it wrong.
one-year renewals. Okay, so
Take that back.
for the option of going out for bid, can that happen if a 1-year renewal is not done? Or do we have to complete all 4 years before it's able to go out to bid?
I believe the contract was for 5 years, so the first year and then 4 additional renewals. if there's a cost if we would back out of the agreement or not, but that was the contract.
God, I thank you for that explanation. Any other remarks? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Item 5I, community eligibility provision. The board approves Jamesburg Elementary School to participate in the Community Eligibility Provision Food Service Program in June. It was approved in June of 2024. Administration recommends adding Nancy Grayson Elementary School and Shippensburg Area Intermediate School to the Community Eligibility Provision Food Service Program at the start of the 2026-27 school year. All other schools will remain in the school breakfast program and national school lunch program for the 26-27 school year. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? Thank you. Is there any discussion?
Love it.
Dr. Lyman loves it, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries. Item 5J, Three Monkeys inflatable contract. This is for Jamesburg Elementary School for the PBIS Carnival Day celebration in May. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion?
I wanted the monkeys one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5K, 2026-27 State Budget Resolution. The growth in mandated expenses, specifically pension costs, charter school tuition payments, and special education over the last decade has outpaced the growth in all areas of school spending. Combined, those costs have increased by more than $6.1 billion in the state, while in state revenue intended to help pay the costs has only increased by $2 billion, leaving a significant mandated cost gap of more than $4.1 billion. Those costs are being passed on to local taxpayers and students in the form of property tax increases and cuts to programs and services. Public schools continue to face growing instructional and operational costs heightened by student mental health and behavioral health needs, special education mandate requirements, infrastructure needs, and persistent educator and staff shortages that cannot be adequately addressed without significant and sustained state investment. Administration recommends approval of the attached resolution for the 2026-27 state budget. Is there a motion for approval?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Is there discussion?
What happens with these?
Good question.
We'll submit them to PSBA,
And then
they're collecting them all.
they forward them to the
Right.
elected officials.
Right, and they're actually having an advocacy day down in Harrisburg, I think on May 4th, so.
They are a lobbying organization, right? So when they show up to their meetings with legislators or whatever, they say, hey, look at all these school districts that signed on to this particular thing.
And what's in that resolution is basically what's on the cool chart that we looked at in your, yeah.
I think that other slide that Mr. Barwin had that outlined the gap of $9 million as to where we maybe should be. You think of the physical plant issues we're having that could be taken care of, the staffing issues, building up of the fund balance for,
We would not have a hard time spending that money.
and it would be going to good things, not waste.
Advocacy Days, May 6th, if anybody wants to go with me.
Is that for Becky?
Huh? In Harrisburg.
Those are fun.
Let's go.
Right.
Any other discussion points? And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6, we're at the discussion agenda. I'll read through the titles unless they have an expense attached to them. Thank you. For the discussion, item 1, number 1 is, or item 6A, the first item is the high school Laurel Life Services Agreement. The administration recommends the approval of the attached agreement for Laurel Life Services to provide specialized services to students in education and behavioral needs at the high school. This agreement would replace the previous out-of-district sewer program. I understand there were some questions about special education that were kind of forwarded to me. Does anybody have questions about this item or to Laurel Life?
Just a note, we have Mr. Polito, Mrs. Fritz, and a representation from Laurel Life here. If there are any questions, Mr. Polito, would anyone like to make any comments for the board or answer any questions that the board might have on this one? I know heading in there were some questions.
Yeah, I just wanted to pass out a budgetary, just a fiscal study on what this program, bringing it into the district, would save Shippensburg. And this is just bare minimum savings. So basically, we're taking a program that we already have, and we're transferring it. We would like to transfer it into our district, into the Shippensburg High
Thank you.
School.
Showing more here.
Sorry.
Sorry. Thank you.
Just with the, just looking over here at the budget, just with the increasing costs of out-of-district spending, which, the move-in population, just, we've had a enormous amount of kids that are going out of district now. So looking at it from the first page, you're eliminating SOAR, which is currently at Browns Mill. We have 6 slots down there. So they serve 6 of our students down at Browns Mill, SOAR. That would save $159,000. Transportation to SOAR is $45,000. So that would be a total of $204,000 that would be, saved. Also, on the next page, we would look to eliminate some of our out-of-district costs at places like River Rock and Yellow Breeches. So looking at River Rock, just with eliminating 2 slots, that would save $90,000, because these would be students we could bring back to the district, place in the high school, and they would participate in the Laurel Life classroom.
It's a transfer of programs
Yes,
into a different
yes.
program.
Yep, and also with Yellow Breeches, same thing. We would be able to eliminate 2 slots, Yellow Breeches. You see there, $71,000. Now, if we have 6 students currently being served down at Laurel Life. So if we have these 6 students, then we bring them back. We're looking for a place to place them. River Rock, 3 students would be $135,000. Yellow Breeches would be $132,000. So you're looking at $267,000 to bring those 6 students that we have at Laurel Life,
You mean SOAR?
put them in another
You mean SOAR?
SOAR. I'm sorry. Yes, SOAR. Then the next page shows the total cost of $338,000, which would be for the high school Laurel Life program. But then in the next page shows it at very least, based on the slots, decreasing in slots at River Rock and Yellow Breeches, we would save a total of $135,000. So that's just the economics behind bringing Laurel Life to the high school.
So, Mr. Scott, when you talked about where can we find efficiencies, this is one of those places, okay?
Can I just add, because I am a social worker, it's not just about the fiscal efficiencies here too. You are then having kids in our buildings who aren't having to be transported outside of the community, and they get to stay in their buildings, in their high school. It feels like less of a stigma to be being sent out. I've been in classrooms with Laurel Life at other schools in Waynesboro and whatnot. It's a wonderful program to keep our kids in our district, and it's saving us money. So it's a total win-win, and I'm really happy that we're doing this.
I'm not familiar with the program, but bringing them back, do you have the resources to do what you want to do, or we're going to give you added resources?
Laurel Life will provide the support.
So
there will be a teacher, there will be a therapeutic counselor, and also a behavioral coach. They'll all be working within this one classroom. So that'll be the cost.
Okay.
So under staffing here, these three people, so these are Laurel Life
Yes,
employees,
that is correct.
not our employees. So I guess my only, I mean, it sounds awesome, but the thing with small numbers, right? I mean, is that they vary a great deal, like year to year. So I mean, I get it, right? You got like 2 people at Yellow Breeches and 2 people at River Rock, or I guess the total is 6 or whatever. I don't know, whatever. But next year, or I don't know, let's say in 2 or 3 years, right? That number could potentially be twice as many, or it could potentially be half as many. You see what I'm saying? So I'm just wondering, like, what does the sustainability of it look like over time? Does that make sense?
These gentlemen
It does make sense.
run the Laurel Life program, so they're very familiar with
So,
what.
Mr. Polito, as they're coming up, do you anticipate a time when we're not going to need therapeutic slots for kids as our population grows?
I mean, we're always going to need slots, but I think our slots will decrease because we're going to be able to service 15 kids now within that classroom.
But the need won't go down. I mean, we saw that. We see that in the stuff Caleb was showing us, that our special ed expenses just continue to go up and
I
up.
really asked the question because you guys had to sit through 2 hours of meeting. You might as well come up and do
But
something.
you're not just servicing special ed either. Like this class can service regular ed, special ed, all of, so you're not just addressing.
So students who would be placed in this,
Yes.
okay,
It could be any student.
who we might otherwise have to send outside the district.
It gives us another tool in our toolbox that we don't have, that we would have had to have an expert come in and do for us. Now we can do it ourselves.
I am Paul. Nice to meet everybody. To address your question directly about the numbers of enrollment, we average about 25 kids in our classrooms at the secondary level across our other programming. So it gives you a larger pool to pull from in your district. So a kid might just need a counseling session regularly. They could go see our therapist meeting like that day with parental permission and things like that. So it just opens up your options to give your students some more services right at home.
Good evening. I'm Mark Keck. I'm the CEO of Laurel Life. That number of 6 coming back, you'd be serving 3 or 4 times that without having to have exorbitant cost going out. So I mean, it's going to save that cyber line item and the special ed cost and cutting services off for what's needed for special ed. Hopefully, to get them regulated, it's going to be used to save you money down the road.
All right, so sorry, I'm asking dumb questions, but I just really want to understand. But so these 3 Laurel Life employees that will be housed in our high school, like that classroom is then capable of serving how many students?
Likely it'll be 25.
So,
across the course of the year.
so potentially 25 students. So the 6 that we're talking about that are coming back from River Rock and Yellow Breeches, that's just 6, but there are others also that are being served in various ways. Some, I guess, full-time and some just for a certain period of time on a given day or something like that.
That would be correct. Yes. I mean, I'm sure there's students sitting in your school right now that could use some of the services, and if we're right here, it can be tapped in immediately right into the program.
And then does this scale? I mean, I imagine that maybe for larger districts, you do the same service, but with more than 3 people?
We have had a few that have added a 4th to have a higher number of students served. But we provide the model in there's 40 classrooms in the state, 11 different districts, and it is a K-12 model. So, I mean, it wouldn't be something that just had to be at the high school if your needs changed.
Okay, interesting. So usually it's just with these 3 folks, you manage whatever a district needs. The average district in Pennsylvania doesn't need more than that. That's what you're saying. Thank you.
I'm going to say one more thing. Sorry, it's my thing. These classrooms are super cool too. When they come in and they put in one of these classrooms, they do not look like your traditional classroom. The staff that they have bring in all kinds of. They're just colorful, beautiful. Just like they're very cool classrooms, and they really do a good job of meeting the needs of the kids right there in our buildings. So.
Where will it be housed at, Mrs. Fritz? In the high school? Like, we have space. We have space for it. Okay. As we're, considering projects and rooms and all of the above. I don't want to put this in there and then them have to be like,
We've already planned out what it would look like for them to come.
okay.
And not to say that we're going to do this out of the gate or anything, but the possibility exists that slots in our program could be offered to other districts because it's a placement, and that we would be able to have some consortium type billing for that process, correct?
Yeah, down the road, we could also look to, if we could be very selective on a student that maybe fits our program from another district. They do that, SOAR now, consortium, so that could be a possibility down the road.
So to kind of summarize, SOAR going away,
Yes.
just, SOAR, call it 2.0, being housed in the district under the Laurel Life classroom model. Okay. Other questions? Thank you very much for your
Actually,
patience.
before you go, so my understanding of what's been presented here is a total cost of $338,500. If there's 6 students, if there's 15 students, or up to 26, does that cost change?
I mean, that's a program cost.
Program cost,
It's set.
So we would have 25 kids that could get set.
that could get, and I think the terminology used was throughout the year, could that be 26 kids or students on day one, every single day of the school year, or is it 26 students spread out?
So 15 students can be in the classroom at any given point during the day. But a lot of students are going to be fluid. They're going to be in and out. Maybe they're in for a few periods. Maybe they're checking in the morning. And so you have a higher number. That's where you get to 25.
And then you had said it's K to 12, so right now there's an ABA program that's in our elementary schools, and here are some not so good things sometimes. You offer that same model for K to 3, or 5?
Not ABA and this or not.
Not ABA, no, but like
What they're doing. in our-
supports for students that age.
Yes.
I mean, ABA typically has our autism base. This is not an autism program, so.
You could have one of these classrooms at each level.
That's what I'm
Oh,
meaning.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And it's more transitional, right? Like, this is not like, all day long they're there for, the whole entire school year. It's more of a transitional
The
classroom
goal is to
space.
get back into the classroom.
Correct.
Especially at the upper levels, right? Our kids,
Right.
they need that freedom. We can't just get in this room for the day and
So it's kind of like STAR in a sense, right? Because isn't STAR more transitional in the middle school?
I
I
would
mean,
defer to.
it's designed to be like
You typically
more
have,
fluid.
like a teacher. This has a teacher, a coach.
Right.
There, it is really surrounding the whole child. So yes and no.
Yeah.
Pieces of it, yes. Pieces
Yeah.
of it, no.
But it's kind of transitional is what I'm
Yes.
saying. It's kind of the same general.
But now instead of taking a bus, once you're
Correct.
done, you just walk
To
down
get
the
all the
hall.
services.
You just walk down the hall to your regular classroom.
Especially a lot of these kids don't have the ability for insurance and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. Typically these kids with high needs. So this also offers an opportunity to support them in a way that we wouldn't necessarily before.
So is this something that parents have to opt their child into, or?
yeah, we call it a volunteer program. We work with the families very closely.
Okay.
We'll do home visits, whatever we got to do. We'll knock on doors when they're not coming.
Be
Get
like
the
an
van.
enrollment.
Right.
There'd be an enrollment process, and your district would have, we use the term gatekeeper. So
Yeah.
the student's not going to come into the program unless your gatekeeper approves, and we work collaboratively on that to make sure it's the right fit.
Okay. Mr. Polito, I may have more questions, but I'll email you if I do.
Sure, absolutely.
Just copy we've been
Yeah,
doing this
we're-
together,
Yeah,
so.
so just
Yeah, cool.
copy. Mr.
Sounds good.
Fix.
I'll leave some other items back there. I can bring them up here if you want some more information, if you need it, if you want it.
I like to read stuff.
Okay.
We greatly appreciate all four of you
Thank
taking
you.
the time
Thank
to
you.
come tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. 6B, bus drivers. Administration approves the following bus drivers. Alana Neal, Brian Staden, Michelle Wright, and Tammy Reese. 6C, Strauss Entertainment invoice with Sam's. The administration recommends approval of the contract with Strauss Entertainment for Bounce House at Sam's for an end-of-year event. The total cost is $879.65. Next, agreement. I'm sorry, I missed one here. A capital area intermediate unit service contract. Administration recommends the attached contract to provide educational services at a cost of $185,709.54. 6E, agreement with Franklin County Children and Youth. As mandated by the Educational Stability Act and to comply with Every Student Succeed, the district shall provide transportation services to facilitate children in foster care so they are able to remain in their home school. Administration recommends the approval of the agreement between Franklin County Children and Youth and the district. 6F, additional walkie-talkies. Administration recommends the approval of the attached quote to purchase additional walkie-talkies to be used in buildings around the district, paid for by a 2025-26 PCCD grant. 6G, Franklin Learning Center resolution to reimburse from bond proceeds. Shippensburg School District is a current member of the Franklin County Learning Center. The approval for this resolution allows for the board to reimburse from bond proceeds from the capital improvements of the Franklin Learning Center. 6H, inflatables for the intermediate school field day. They're seeking approval for 3 Monkeys inflatables, providing the inflatables for the end of the year field day. This will be paid out of the PTO from intermediate school. 6I, installation of additional high school basketball rims. The Buildings and Grounds Committee and Administration recommends the purchase and installation of additional basketball rims and backboards at the high school gym. The cost are $71,833 and will be paid out of the construction fund. 6J, Foundation Executive Director Cost Savings Sharing Agreement. The administration recommends approval of the attached cost sharing agreement with the Greyhound Foundation for the Executive Director position. This will be essentially a copy and paste of the current contract for an additional 3 years. If there's any item 6A through 6J that any board member has questions on, I would suggest, recommend sending questions in advance to administration. Are there any comments on any item at this point?
Just real quick, 6I, I thought that was already done. Is there an update, the reason why it's back on the agenda?
The cost, there was an issue with the vents, I understand.
Yeah, we had to. There's a
So there's-
you were there.
Oh, that's right.
$6,000 additional rigging or something.
Readjustment to the dirt pile.
Yeah, pretty close.
It feels like the dirt pile. I'm just saying. So essentially, we've already approved like $65,000 of it.
More
so
than
it's an
that.
additional-
It was 66, I think.
Correct.
So this is on top.
It's on top.
Yeah,
It's
this
like
is
Just a $5,000.
$5,000 difference.
Okay, I was about to.
of dirt. That's
Yeah,
like a
it's
scoop of
not on
dirt.
top of it.
Like a scoop of dirt. A dirt pile.
Thank you for that clarification. I'm going to move on to board comments. I'm going to start on the other side today. Mr. Scott.
Oh, is Ms. Fink here for a reason?
We were discussing her.
You here for a reason?
You're here just,
Or just cheer us on? Okay,
4 hours?
okay.
Thank you for being here. It's important that we work together.
I didn't want to sit there for 4 hours and didn't get nothing out of it. You asking me now, board comment?
Board comments, Mr. Scott.
Nothing.
Nothing. Mr. Carey.
Just real short, the 3.5 option on the construction, I'd like to thank the administration for the work they put in to even give that as a possibility, as an option. That was, I'm sure it was a lot of work. Thank you. That's it.
Yeah, it's not really a comment. I guess it's a question. Do we got anybody working on content for the scoreboard? So when football season comes, we can start running advertisement. Do you know that, Bill?
I don't believe. I think there was a training when Sarah said here that has to happen first. I mean, we're having some problems with the scoreboard every time it rains.
Well, don't you think in my opinion, I think we need to get that figured out before the football season.
I agree, and I think we will.
And
Waiting
as
on-
far as getting content to run ads and do whatever you got to do, I mean, I was a little disappointed that it wasn't being used for the track. I mean, I think they could. I said this last meeting. I think they could have put the kids' names up there, what lane they run in. But from my understanding, nobody knows how to do that.
and that's why I think there's some training coming.
Well, I feel that needs to be done immediately. I mean, it's you know, we spent this money for this scoreboard, and we're not utilizing it. That's what disappoints me, I guess. I mean, and then the other thing is, do we got anything set up? Or is anybody even like maybe a movie night we talked about? The system's made to do a movie night. They got speakers and stuff on the scoreboard to have movie night. Is there anybody following up with that, or is it just like throw it up under the rug and forgot about?
So I don't know that we've had time to really put that together or anybody requesting it for us. I mean, there's still a possibility that the elementaries can come up for a field day type thing, but it hasn't been high on the priority, Mr. Bart.
I understand that, but I know it's getting nice out, and I don't think teachers know that that's available. That they could say, hey, let's have a movie night. I mean, I don't know. Does James Byrd, Nancy Grayson, do them schools even know that they can use that?
I believe they do. We talked about it last year, having like a field day there and having, so there's some capability. We just haven't circled back to it.
Don't Ms. Fink, you're taking money in for ads for the scoreboard, right?
No, not ads for the scoreboard. We have all the logos on file to be able to show on the scoreboard when the time's right. People have purchased naming rights for the stadium. So that's ready to go when it's ready to.
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's, although obviously, as you know, has naming rights, university has naming rights, and more to come.
Well, we need to prepare.
Yeah, I just want to answer, Jim, I mean, with regard to everything, I think some of the issues with the scoreboard, once they get figured out and we have the ability to kind of crawl before we run, rather than throw everything at that scoreboard at once, I think you'll see that it'll come along over time.
But I think what Jim's talking about, he doesn't want to wait the first football game when people in the stands and we having all these problems. We want to get the kinks out of them before that. Yeah.
I mean, it still needs to have a content made, some kind of something to put up there, whether it's football, it does more than fly the American flag, period. That's all he seemed to do with it. I mean, it does way more than that. And I'm not computerized, whatever, but I know it does way more than that.
There's going to be a learning curve to learn the program, and I think that's what Jim's asking for, is who's learning the program and how to, to utilize the programming, to add the content, the names, the designs, the logos, all of those things. It's not something that like you're going to wait to the first football game and learn on the job. This is what I kind of like do for a living. It's going to take time, and there's definitely a learning curve to learning how to use that. And I think it would be a great idea to figure out who's going to be doing it and getting our students involved in that process as well, and helping, having kind of like drama has students up in the lighting box that man that. I think it would be a great, benefit to the students to be able to get involved in that process. I'll leave that as my comment, even though it wasn't my time.
I've spoken enough tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Doggle?
Yes, I have a comment. The administration, Mr. Barwin, Bill, August, Leslie, everybody who's been working to try to put together projections. Projections are not easy. And budgets. They've put a lot of time and effort into trying to figure out people, personnel needs. I'd like to thank them for that. I think it's a good start. I think as we move forward, if we continue to do those year over year, I think they become more accurate. And I'd like to say something about the 0 budget years that we had. I kind of doubt they had projections and had done forecasting back then, because I think had they had like a Power School Analytical back then, they may not have opted to stick with a 0 budget. If had we remained status quo, it would have been, their budget of 0 would have been fine. Thank you.
Dr. Lyman,
Comments.
you made enough comments.
Tired.
It is late. I do want to alert the public. There's going to be a modification to when and how the board meetings are happening. We're going to adjust to a model that's going to have the committee meetings occurring on the same evening as our regular scheduled board meetings.
It'll be as long as this, Drew.
They will be long days, long evenings, but at least it's condensed to one night instead of multiple nights throughout the week. I think that it's taxing on administration to have multiple nights where they are here at the district and leaving to go to their homes late. So I believe in family work-life balance, and we're going to have a schedule that's going to be developed. We'll make sure appropriate and the public notice is given for the sunshine rules, but anticipate that being known very soon. I can't put a date on it right now because I'm going to work with Mr. August to develop that a little further, and then we'll make sure it's placed out in the public for inspection. Seeing nothing else, are there any citizen comments related to non-agenda items?
Blasted them.
I think we're good for citizen comments. Before we adjourn, we did have an executive session for personnel matters, and we did, past tense, and contract issues. Date savers, May 11th is the next board meeting, planning and action meeting. The district is closed May 28th for Memorial Day. May 26th is the second board meeting of May. And then we look forward to June 2nd for commencement for our seniors. Being all business done, meeting is adjourned.